welcoming on stage Mr. Kalyan Chakrabarti, CEO, Emaar India.
So I think it's about C-suite moves, impact, changes. We'll talk something in general. But one thing which when Sandeep called, it's a set of CHROs who would be here and they want you to speak. I owe a debt of gratitude, every CEO does, to their CHRO who kind of helped them or helps them. Firstly, you get recruited by them through a headhunter or otherwise. You get recommended to your board by them. And hence a generic set of CHROs, whether you directly worked or not, as a community of professionals who practice HR Giri, as we can colloquially talk about. I think all of us do owe a debt of gratitude. But bigger than that, I think if you are lucky and you have a good partner in crime, which fortunately I do, we probably have one of the best CHROs out there. Thank you. Is it working? Okay, I'm more comfortable not hiding behind a lectern. I think if you are lucky to have a great CHRO who partners with you and you can jointly commit some crimes without getting caught, nothing like it. The people practices, various other things that one unleashes, and Ankit and I were chatting up. I took over this job about 3.5 years ago, and we had a tricky situation. For those who are from Gurgaon would probably know we had a turnaround situation at hand when I took over about 3.5 years ago. We had all kinds of problems that you can think of. I fundamentally believe at the bottom of the pyramid, the H is an unnecessary word or an unnecessary part of that acronym of CHRO. I keep telling to my CHRO that you should be the CRO, the Chief Risk Officer, because the H is irrelevant. All the risks in the company, or you can also be the revenue officer, all the revenues in the company are dependent on you. The kind of people you bring to the table, the kind of processes and systems that you set up so that the talent gets fully unleashed and fully find its own expression, so that the larger success of the organization has a higher probability of being achieved, is directly dependent on you, not somebody else. So you hire the wrong people, you motivate them wrongly, give them the wrong kind of job description, don't manage them right, don't do a right performance evaluation, don't reward them right, or allow politics to creep up in the organization, you can single-handedly destroy an organization too. So you can be that Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwar, you can be the Maheshwar also, destroy the company single-handedly as the CHRO or make the company single-handedly as the CHRO. So to me, I think the people equation is the most critical. And I'm not talking to you just because you are the audience. I think you should find your time, meet some MR people to see how do we think about it and how do we go about doing it. Of course, different types of paths can be taken to reach the final destination. But all of us in our corporate lives, and I'm not talking about the personal life, are chasing success of some kind, whether it is a financial success, P&L ko badhana hai, most admired company banna hai, ya best company to work for list mein aa jana hai. So we have our own targets, which is all good. But at the core of that, again, it's for those who have a mathematical or engineering background, y is a function of x. People understand this kind of lingo? Anybody? Okay. If y is a function of x, the first variable is always people in a corporate setup. You take that out, it's a problem. Having said all of this, I think things are changing very fast. I currently am reading a book called The Future is Coming Faster Than You Think. There is this guy called Peter Diamandis, who is the author primarily, and Stephen Kotler. They've written 3 books, and I'm reading the first one, though I know a snippet of the other 2. Technology is changing everything. We are not too far away, probably we already are there, where you are talking about a single person unicorn. एक ही बंदा है, $1 billion का कंपनी चलाता है, फिर CHRO को क्या जरूरत है? वो बंदा अपने आप को मोटिवेट करेगा, अपने आप का, he will run the whole company. We are not too far away from that. We already are there. WhatsApp, when it was acquired by Facebook, was 8 people, if I recall it right. And today it is some 18 people. So WhatsApp is one of the most valued tech companies in the world now. And so very few people work. Twitter has gone better since Elon Musk has taken over, both technology, user features and all of that stuff, with staff strength which has come down to 1/5 apparently. And we are seeing AI having an impact which is unbelievable, unfathomable. And many people tell we can't even visualize what is going to happen next year. Forget about 3 years, forget about 5 years. When I stepped out of my engineering college back in 1993, so I'm largely antiquated since I have revealed that. We always knew that 30 साल तक तो हम इंजीनियर करके निकाल देंगे. We always knew that, you as an engineer have a reasonable lifespan, you can retire. That certainty went away. About maybe 10, 15 years ago, I was sharing with Ankit more on perspective of health. Nowadays, when I go for keynote addresses, I speak more on health than anything else. Because one thing which is in your control is still health. बाहर की दुनिया में क्या हो रहा है, what will influence you, technology, many of these things may not be in our control. But the quality of sleep that I can have, the length of the sleep that I can have, the food that I am planning to eat is in my control. Let me try to do a good job of that. Give myself a reasonable chance of success in my personal life in terms of leading myself. At least that much can be in control. But I was telling Ankit, in terms of tiering talent, when I'm going to mix up a little bit of personal, little bit of professional, partly because the topic is very confusing for me, and partly because Sandeep did not give me adequate warning, and maybe partly between Sandeep and Ankit, they could not figure out who else to call, so they called whoever is the closest possible and easily available, relatively well, I would suspect. But technology is something which excites me as much as it worries me. We don't have any underpinning of governance on some of these things which are getting unleashed. I do not know how many of you would have heard about 3D printing as an example, right? A lot of you have heard. My industry is getting impacted big time by 3D printing. We all think ये अभी हमारे पास नहीं आने वाला है, बहुत टाइम लगने वाला है, इंडिया में 3D printing नहीं आएगा. Typically when I sit in my conversations with the boardrooms and with my team also, they all think like that, right? If you know the International Space Station, one of our Indian Shubhanshu Shukla was there a couple of weeks ago, right? He came back rather a couple of weeks ago and he spent, I think, 14 days. 4 decades ago, 3D printing started because it was a requirement in the International Space Station. Why could that be? And I was reading this and I found it very fascinating. You have this International Space Station where there are people living, anything can go wrong. The coffee maker could go wrong. The door latch could go wrong. And you are unable to open the door, or your coffee is not working tomorrow morning, or some kind of a food heater can go wrong. How do you fix it? You need spare parts. How do you get spare parts? You carry with you for all kinds of equipments that you have, and that costs you money. Or if you don't carry with you, you basically launch another satellite which will bring that spare part to you. It costs about 50 million US dollars to get you a nut which is required in order to make a coffee which costs you $1. That is when they said, no, this is not possible. Let's send a 3D software design up there and keep some basic raw materials. थोड़ा plastic रख लेते हैं, थोड़ा steel रख लेते हैं, थोड़ा aluminium रख लेते हैं और उसको print करने दो. That's how it started. And they could afford it in those days because it is a space station. It costs far more to take it there. For us, that was not the situation. So we lived 40 decades waiting for this 3D printing to come and hit us. That's how it hit us. Now everything is doable. I take a lot of interest to understand robotics because I think that is going to change our life. You need one guy at home who will do, or depending on the preference, one serving staff who will come and mop the floor in the morning, cooks food for you in the morning or afternoon breakfast to your choice, has become your doctor or teacher, can teach you PhD courses, can teach you standard 1 courses, can sing lullabies for your child. End to end, everything can be done by a single robot, and we are not too far away from that. My prediction in 5 years from that, that's what is going to happen. There are subtle changes which are already beginning to happen, where a part of what I said is already being done by one robot or the other. When I go through AI myself, and I am one of the most technologically challenged persons that you can think of, but when I use it, for example, today we got a couple of judgments, high court judgments, right? Orders running into 50 pages, 70 pages. A typical reaction of a CEO is wait for about 3 days. Boss, can you give me a debrief? The legal guy comes to you with a debrief, 2 pages. He takes about 3-4 days at the minimum. That's because you are asking. So he puts all the energies and still take 3 days. I have got my Adobe, I pay 600 rupees AI regenerative summary. It gives me less than 1 minute later what is this case all about. So before the lawyer has come, I am ready with 50 questions. That is difficult for the lawyer. When he comes, he unfortunately is not using generative summary, though we have started implementing a particular legal AI software in our own company to figure out how to get productivity. And we have now made it mandatory for Microsoft Copilot to everywhere because we operate in a Microsoft environment. So Copilot is getting rolled out. I don't know how many of you are aware of Copilot. Copilot is the AI system or AI software that Microsoft gives. We have made it mandatory. the productivity advantage which will come at every level because of that is going to be humongous. Whether it is HR, whether it is others. Screening CVs, like, in search industry, you guys prepare this nice little brief summary at the top. Of course, there is this value added activity which happens of you having spoken with the person, who you having met with the person, which enables that summary which is becoming useful for whoever is the consumer of that. But that screening, the whole thing is now happening in AI in a big way, already implemented, done and dusted. Adoption is probably an issue. We are probably lagging with respect to how long it will take to adopt some of these features in India or specific companies within India, but it's a matter of time. So all of us, as a result, have 2 or 3 specific desirable actions on our diary or on our calendar, at least for me. First, make sure that you know technology, irrespective of what you do, whether you are the chief operating officer, chief HR officer, chief finance officer, doesn't really matter. And we have new designations nowadays all the time. I get fascinated, chief diversity officer and chief AI officer. I recently saw something, the chief AI officer. When companies are willing to invest on that, right? Which means there is something which is happening which we have to catch. So make sure technologically you are good. Nobody is expecting you to code. Nobody is expecting you to go and learn the computer languages. And nowadays coding is becoming redundant. AI is, that anthropic AI I was reading about is replacing coders like mad. Make sure that you are aware of what is going on in the industry, in your area of interest, your own area of expertise, or your own area which leads you to win your bread. It is important to know what challenge is going to come your way, which is going to help or hurt. I think that is important. The second bit, of course, is along with that, the customer is moving more to the center than it has ever been. One big unleashment which is happening, and I am a big believer in this, is how the world is going to be a place of abundance. We are used to a world for 2.5 million years since we are born as a human race. We are used to scarcity. खाना नहीं मिलता है, कपड़े नहीं मिलते, रहने के लिए जगह नहीं मिलता है, रेंट के लिए घर नहीं मिलता है. We have got problems. गाड़ी चलाने के लिए, कार के लिए रास्ते में जगह नहीं मिलता है, so traffic jam है. Everywhere we only have problems, right? Scarcity. Next decade is going to be the decade of abundance. In the air there is too much of carbon dioxide, for example, right? Or pollution. But I think the technology is taking us to a stage where everything is becoming abundant. People will have a choice to do whatever they want to do. You don't need food to eat. Apparently, in about 25 years from now, you don't need to eat. You will survive by taking some kind of a capsule which costs you, let's say, 5 rupees at today's prices. So you don't need to earn as a result. You can choose your own passion. But we will have to wait. That is not happening tomorrow morning. So we still have to earn our bread. We still need to deliver what we need to deliver to our own corporations, to justify our own roles, to get our salary, to feed our family at home. But if you are technologically deficient and you don't take interest in technology, I think there is a serious problem. The chances of outing ourselves faster is higher. And there is a fascinating world out there. Maybe you will turn out an entrepreneur and become a billionaire tomorrow if you start taking care of technology from today. It is never too late. So that is one thing I always encourage people to do, both youngsters and older ones. When people are changing jobs, many times in my exit interview, I say, why the hell are you changing this? Your job might get redundant 2 months from now. Mine might be. Let's discuss technology. Why don't you join into our technology team and do something? I am finance. How can I get into technology team? But I think that cross-functional endeavor is important. The second thing, which I think is never going to change, because whatever technology might do, it will never be able to replicate us as human beings. And hence the core values that distinguishes us from a tech-driven robot is going to never change for the next million years. And million years is good enough. Most of us will not be alive till that long. So then it is fine. So to me, those are the core values which you guys only represent. Trust cannot be replaced. Empathy cannot be replaced. Equity cannot be replaced. Fairness cannot be replaced. Reasonableness cannot be replaced. You can name it. The variables which you look at in order to assess people, the variables which you look at in order to reward people, understand people, appreciate behavior of people, Those are variables which are softer variables on which we will continue to excel. No supercomputer will be able to match us on any of these variables. But I think as technology deepens its entry into our system, into all the human race as a cumulative entity, these variables will end up becoming high premium variables. These variables have still not reached the peak of their valuation, in my opinion. If you were to think trust as a listed entity, I'm talking a little bit in an abstract. I hope you empathize where I'm coming from, or you appreciate where I'm coming from. Let's say empathy, ownership, consistency, credibility, commitment. These are all variables most of you in HR world identify on a day-to-day basis, right? When you assess people, we throw out these words very, very frequently, and rightly so. There is nothing uh, I am against any of these words in any manner at all. However, these words are going to take a different shape, form, and importance altogether, as I see. And hence, the people who practice this and the people who nurture for these values to be given the due importance in their own fields, to me, are going to be kicking ass. And a combination of making sure that you do your own this variable nourishment better and this technology better is going to influence all the various changes. With respect to C-suite, I think these moves are only going to accelerate. Ability to survive and thrive is going to be a challenge going forward. So only you have to be extremely paranoid. Get almost, I'm not trying to sell fear, psychosis here, but I think it is important to be paranoid. Get disturbed if there is a problem. Get worried. Make it your personal goal to solve the problem of the day. Be at the middle of it. The best of the problems go to people who bring that attitude to the table. In my team, I give my best problems to the people who have displayed certain characteristics. So we have this concept of 5, 15, 50. I fundamentally believe any large organization, however large that may be, 1,000,000 people, 1 lakh people, 500 people, is run finally by 5 people. Right? 5 people demonstrate all the right values, whether it is ownership, commitment, thought process, strategic leadership, whatever you call it. And at a middle level, these 5 people need support of another 15 people, and probably at the bottom there are about 50 people. And we sit on almost on a quarterly basis, me and my CHRO, and redraft these names. We want to make sure that we give the right exposure to those people, and sometimes other people come in. And when you are trying to tear up your organization, 3.5 years ago, I was telling Ankit, when we tiered assessment of your talent inside the company at various levels, we were disturbed. Many of our we of course represent a tier 1 brand in Dubai. We want to be a tier 1 brand in Dubai. Do I have the right tier 1 talent to support that aspiration? And when we went through, unfortunately, it gave a very disturbing outcome. So there were only 2 ways to do it. You either improve the internal caring, which is possible. That is one of the jobs of you guys, bring some training and development programs, mentoring programs, coaching programs. We did all of that. But there is some which you just can't fix. Wrong guys sitting at wrong places in which you can change the place. But wrong guys sitting inside the company, what do? The tough one which CHROs need to help people like me to do. So, you take some tough calls. But I think these are going to increasingly become prominent and hence becoming good at it. And one of these movies, I remember George Clooney's movies, I am assuming all of you would have seen it being HR people, where he keeps firing people by flying on a flight. Up in the air, brilliant. So one of those old movies, I used to feel very disturbed when I first time saw the movie. What the hell is this guy specializes only in firing and he keeps going all around it? How can you create such a heartless job? And then you realize in a corporate life that is also a reality. Right? I think I'm running out of time. But there is one aspect which I think I will touch upon. There is enough gyan you will get on the internet. You will get it on, if you put it on Twitter feed, some keywords, you will get everything that I am saying or beyond. Probably you will find people who are more articulate, can be better storytellers in terms of giving the same message. But there is one transformational thing I have gone through in the last 5-6 months, and to the extent that it helps any of you, it's helpful. I was sitting with Ankit and we resonated talking about it. Health, sleep. How many of you sleep for 7 hours plus every night without fail? 1, 2, 3. Oh, it's nice actually. About 10% people. How many of you sleep 6? Quite a few. Very good. So, mindfulness about eating. I don't eat any grains. So, I don't eat rice, roti, dal and millets. So, people ask me what the hell then you eat. There are enough things under the sun to eat. It fixes your health. I was trying to reverse my diabetic. I've been a diabetic for about 17 years. And I've managed to reverse about 85-90%. in about 5 months. And I was telling Ankit the other thing, sleep. Please measure your sleep. Most of us don't care about these small metrics, but it changes your future for good. You know, your REM sleep, your deep sleep, are you getting adequate amount of sleep? Sleep well. There is one mantra which I give to anybody in my company who cares to listen. Sleep well. Do yourself a big favor. You have lots of life ahead of you. One thing which I get very disturbed, particularly about life that we have been together seeing post-COVID, is the way people just drop off. You know, brilliant youngster disappeared. And I think being in HR in your own company, you would have come across those kind of stories and news. Please help them. Mindful living, mindful eating, and mindless sleeping. जितना चाहे उतना सो जाओ कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. Because it's important in life to get health right. I have run out of time, so I am planning to stop it, Ankit. If you want me to handle a couple of questions, happy to. Thank you very much for calling me, and much appreciate the opportunity to speak to you guys. Thank you.